Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amba woman. I start today by extending special salute to our ASA who defend our territory on a regular basis, defend our families, our friends. I also want to send a special salute to our friends and family members who reside in neighboring La République du Cameroon, knowing that they are there because of what is happening in our territory, and that we are hoping that sooner than later they will return home to where they belong. I want to also send a special greetings to refugees all over the world. Most of them reside in neighboring Nigeria and Ghana. And it's our prayer that perhaps this year we will be able to see our homeland together. This is the Horizon, the voice of the Amba woman. Again, my name is my patience Abiedu, and it's my pleasure to host this special edition. And this is our second show for the year. I apologize that we couldn't come last week. This year will be a little bit difficult. We are thinking that we may have the show just twice a month because my schedule has changed with my job. So it's really difficult to come every week. But if I'm able to, I will do my best too. Today we have our special guest. Well, it's not really special per se, but it's one who has been in the house on numerous occasions, and it's none other than Winnie Lobati. Winnie, welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amba woman.
Good
Can
evening.
you hear me?
Good evening. Yes, I can hear you. Good evening, my patients. Good evening, fellow listeners and Ambazonians all over the national territory diaspora. I just want to say I am happy to be here and to be your guest, and I'm happy that you are allowing me into your homes so I can at least say something that is important and that is needful for this time and this season. So I hope 2026 is going on well for each one of you, despite some of the struggles and difficulties that we may all be experiencing. I thank God that you are alive. If you're hearing us, then God has graced you with life. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Winnie. Always a pleasure. So the topic for today's conversation is Ambazonian mothers respond to the editor of the Guardian Post, Mr. Kristian Ngah. Some of you must have read the article in the Guardian Post that was written this month. I believe it was on the 21st of January, Wednesday. I mean, it has Wednesday publication, January 21st. And most of you must have read it, or some of you must have read it. And it requires a response by mothers. And there's a reason why we think that we should really look detailedly into this letter read it line by line, really, so people understand exactly what he is writing. But before I get to that, Mawini, uh, the 19th in the United States of America was Martin Luther King's Day,
Mhm.
which we celebrate here. It was a holiday, national holiday. And I just want to just um, um, say a word about Martin Luther King, one of the bravest uh, black Americans who stood for justice and peace. And when we read this letter, we can reflect and see the difference of how somebody fought for his people, and unlike what the editor is implying that we should do. So just quickly, let me just read this to get us started on this conversation. Give me a quick moment. My device is acting up, but here we go. Hmm. All right. So Martin Luther King Jr. Just briefly, I mean, most of you know something about him already, but I just want to read this short paragraph so we can pay some tribute to him before we get into this article. So Martin Luther King Jr. was a prominent leader in the American civil rights movement. He advocated for non-violent civil disobedience and led pivotal events like the Montgomery bus boycott and the March on Washington, where he delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech. King's work focused on achieving racial equality and social justice through peaceful means. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 and remains a symbol of the fight for human rights and equality. So that's just a brief summary of who he was. We know he was assassinated, he was killed, which is usually the case with any great person trying to fighting for change. Mawini, do you want to just say something about reflecting on what I just read or whatever you want to share in addition to what I've said, and then we'll get into the letter.
Thank you, my patience. And I think it's important to realize that the civil rights movement was just a continuation. Think about it this way: when you have a chain that you have many little links, the civil rights was just a continuation for the fight and the equality of African Americans who had been brought from the African continent into the Western Hemisphere, both North and South America, to serve as slaves. And so they fought for centuries. Mark that word, for century. So as slavery was being abolished at the event of the Civil War in America, it led to another Jim Crow um, subtle discrimination that led to separate, equal but separate. And with that, the civil rights came to say no, all men are created equally before God. And so, and God has given each one of us the right to freedom, the pursuit of happiness, and whatever God has put as a vision in our heart. So he came at the point, let me just put it this way: he was passed a baton. And it has started with slaves. If you know American history a little bit, you will think about the Underground Railroad. Many perished, many blacks perished during the era of slavery. Even those who were free blacks eventually got caught. Some of them were, just because of the skin of their color, the color of their skin, they were actually caught and put back into slavery, because to the perpetrators and to those who upheld this notion that because you are black, you are bound to be a slave, and that the white race was superior. That ideology hasn't completely been killed even in the Americas. Let's face that. But because of laws that have been put and things that have been put, it is a little more subtle now the way it happens. But there's been a big progress, and we will see how this progression continues. That's why they had what they call title, what is it, 19 or 21, title, about affirmative action, which is
Affirmative
also being
action.
eroded. Yes, which is also being eroded. Um, to a
It's
certain
gone.
extent, it was affirmative action was
Affirmative action.
good and bad. It had its, it had it had the face of two coins. There was the good side and the bad side, because every black who excelled was looked upon as, you only excel because you were a product of affirmative action. Anyway, let me end that here, because I will cross reference the century of fighting for equality, even within the context of a nation that is supposed to have many races and many, many diverse groups, that they are still fighting for that over centuries, several centuries. And I will cross reference that when we talk about the article that we'll be talking about. The editor in chief, Mr. I think Kristian
Christian.
Ngah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let's delve into that letter, open letter to Anglophone separatist leaders, Amber fighters. So, Mawini, just the title itself speaks volume. Open letter to, so it's addressed to Anglophone separatist leaders, Amber fighters. First of all, who are Anglophones? Who are separatist leaders? Who are Amber fighters? Let's start with the Anglophone first, Mawini. Why address to Anglophone, and then let's talk about separatist leaders and then Amber fighters.
Thank you, my patients, for starting with all these definitions, because we need to define this subgroup in the context of what is happening on the ground in southern Cameroon, or aka Ambazonia, also known as Ambazonian. And mind you, Ambazonia comes from, that word was derived and Christianed our nation by um, um, um,
Chief
Gojidinka. Yes,
Ejidinka or anybody from
His
Chief,
Royal
somebody.
Highness Gojidinka, who was a very intelligent lawyer. He's still alive. He's over 100 years old. He's still alive. But he derived that from the Ambas Bay. For those of you who are in Victoria and as well as in the southern, around the, I would say, I think if you're going to Edintown and in all those areas, you will know there is the Ambas Bay, which is a well coveted bay, because it was very strategic even for the Europeans when they came in the 1600s, 1700s, for their scramble for Africa. Yes, back to definition. Anglophone. Anglophone is a title that really refers to an English speaking, and it's a French word, anglophone. I do not think that the French per se do call the English, I mean the British English, Anglophones. They call them um, differently. But I think this terminology of Anglophone has greatly been used in Africa by the French, and maybe generated more so from um, La République du Cameroon in its cohabiting. Let me use that word loosely, cohabiting with the former British Southern Cameroons. So they relabeled us and gave us a name, and that name is what we call Anglophone, and it really just imply English speaking. With that being said, I don't understand when you have Bamilekes who had ran, Bassas who had ran into our zone during the Makiza days, and they had wars, UPC war, as a result of them fleeing when they were fighting for their own independence and freedom. And they have actually acquired some of the Anglo-Saxon things. They went to Sase, they went to Seka, they went to all the schools. Perchance you and I were in the secondary school where we had a lot of um, people with who or came from Bamileki extract that were
Mm-hmm.
we were classmates and students alike with. I don't want to name names here, but just to
Mm-hmm.
let know that we have been a generous people and a kind people, even to refugees. Um, Mark that. We will come to that again in Mr. Ngah's writing. So when that terminology, it bundles up everybody who speaks English, or probably, and throws them in, or those who may have studied in the English system, and so they are, when they use that name, Anglophone, they will use it for their advantage, even when the indigenous people are not being defined as Anglophone, but transplants who came in, and they want to prove that, see, les Anglo, they are also, you see, they are excelling, they are doing well,
Mm-hmm.
they are doing that. Mind you, La République du Cameroon really deals but with ethnic tribal groups, because they can
Mm-hmm.
identify people mostly by their surnames, and they will know where they came from.
Yeah.
And so, with that definition of Anglophone, I will go to separatist leader. Separatist leader is also another misnomer that has been given to those of us Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, who are standing our ground, saying that we have a nation, we were a people with a country, with a flag, and with our own laws and our culture, and by right, we were supposed to be fully independent, not by joining anybody.
Mm-hmm.
However, however, the separatist person that really, as Godji Dinka would say, if this marriage, and let me use Molanjo Litumbe's own expression too, I will mix those two. Those are our people that had gone and are all started and opened our eyes. Molanjo Litumbe say na Njumba married, no
Mm-hmm.
dowry was paid, meaning no treaty. We signed no treaty of agreement with La République du Cameroon. And Gojitinka says on in I think April 1984, when La République reverted from what they came from, Federal Republic of Cameroon to United Republic of Cameroon, and then back to La République de Cameroon, the name they had at independence, they were the separatists.
Exactly.
So you want to use the word separatist leaders? I think they are in Yaoundé in a 2D, if you want to say it rightly. Amba fighters another loose name. It started by Amba fighters, meaning Ambazonian fighters. We have an Ambazonian state army. But Amba's fighter was used loosely when you had so many different subgroups of people fighting. Some put in and infuse to set confusion, even by Ponji Atanga. They infused people in there, hired people who were even from our own region to infuse them into to set confusion. And then you had many other subgroups of fighters. Today, because we have a government, we have an Ambazonian state army that is different from Amba fighter is a loose name. It's just a loose name. So that when you have even crooks, thieves, even BIR who have stripped off their uniforms and they are on the streets causing atrocities, they are labeled Amba fighters.
Amba fighters. Well said. Well said. Okay, Mawini. So, in essence, you're saying that the name, the word Anglophone, it's really a loose way of referring to. His goal was really to refer to Ambazonians, right? Not really Anglophones. So he was not bold enough to say an open letter to Ambazonians, or even to say an open letter to Southern Cameroonians. He will use the word Anglophones, and as you rightfully said, separatist leaders. Who are the leaders? Let's forget about the separatists. Who does he consider leaders in this context? I mean, we know that in terms of what is going on the ground, in terms of the structure, our journey has morphed from the very beginning, where it was the consortium, and we could even go back to 1961, or even go back before, when our forefathers left the Enugu House, came to Boya, and they had their own government, where after Endele lost to Foncha took over. So they already had a government in Boya at one time. They said that was the first democracy in that part of the world. And then they became a federated nation. It was West Cameroon and East Cameroon. And then when I just started doing his manipulations, because they already had all these plans. Then finally they changed the name to the United Republic of Cameroon. No, it was a Federal Republic of Cameroon. They changed it to United Republic of Cameroon with those two stars. And then after that, they removed it and changed it to after United Republic of Cameroon, they changed it to Republic to Cameroon in 1984. So they went back. So if you're saying, as you've said, if somebody separated, they are the ones that left the union. So they separated from what was originally meant to supposed to be what the United Nations wanted us to be together. And if they left, they are the separatists. But let's just take this now that they are calling us separatists. And for one thing, this name separatist has a negative connotation in my view, because it's as if we've done something wrong. We have decided to leave something that was so structured, that was so wonderful. But let's give them that yes, we separated. But that's not the case, because they left us. So who are the leaders? He cannot really enforce, because we're going to read it. There was no mention of any particular leadership, right? We know that it started from Ayuk Tabe, from the most recent history in 2017, Ayuk Tabe, and then to Dr. Imawe Saku right now, and everybody else that is there is, iffy, because they are doing things that are not really in line with the Constitution. And one thing I must say, Mawini, you and I, we are not followers of people. We are following the structures. Because what I mean by that is that if you reverse the case, let's say that Sako was the one who was there originally and did what he did, and he was locked up. and Sissoko Ayuktabe was right now, we will be under Sissoko Ayuktabe. We are not following people because we didn't know all these individuals. We are following the structures that have been placed for our government, and that's the right way to do this. So um, I really like what you said about all these Amba fighters, all lumped into one because they can be BIR, they can be special candidates of Atanganji doing their havoc here and there, and they can be the real Ambazonian State Army, that is really out there for our liberation, and they can be thieves that are taking advantage of the situation to create havoc. So let me read on this letter. All right, so the first paragraph. My dear brothers and sisters, I write to you on bended knees, not as a politician or someone blind to the pain that has befallen our people since the outbreak of the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions in October 2016, but as one who also wears your shoe. Our genuine concerns carried moral weight and got the attention everywhere. But 9 years on, I appeal to your conscience. Pause and review what has become of our people and communities. Our people have become poorer, hungrier, more traumatized and lost. The same people you set out to fight for are today refugees and internally displaced persons, IDPs, many of whom can barely survive. Winnie, I'll end here. What do you want? How do you want to react to this first three paragraphs of his letter?
Thank him. I want to thank him for saying that he walks in the shoe of whoever the we are or are us. And that you've been able to analyze and see we have refugees internally displaced. You are the editor-in-chief of The Guardian, Mr. Ngah. So I think you have enough information. And I will premise this. I know, and I will put this. You are in the lion's den. What do I mean? You are in La République du Cameroon. The truth that needs to be spoken cannot be freely spoken because you are afraid you will be the next person thrown in Kondengi, just like the other journalist who was killed there. So I want to say, while you write this, and you may think you are not a politician, you have just espoused a political position in all of this writing that you have put there. And in that political position that you have espoused, thinking you are helping, you literally, you are tying the hands of the, let me call it, Ambazonian State Army. You are tying the minds of the Ambazonians who have come to the knowledge of who their identity is and how their freedom and their statehood was stolen. You are calling all that into question the way you've written this. Let me go first with that first part and be specific. You said you are worried and concerned because our people have become poorer, hungrier, traumatized, and lost after 9 years. I agree with you that they are poorer, hungrier, traumatized, but not lost. Why do I say? They are not lost because they know who they are, their identity. They are poorer because a war was declared on them. And even before the war was declared, Mr. Ngah, do you remember in 2016 when the teachers and the lawyers, their wigs were pulled off? Do you remember when bullets were sprayed in the population? And even with that, they were still resilient. And in September 22nd, 2017, they were on the streets. Do you remember? Yes, 9 years is plenty of time, but 9 years in the life of a revolution and a struggle is just the wee hours of the morning. If you compare it to every other struggle, whether it was apartheid, whether it's the South Sudan, whether it was Somaliland, Somalia, whether it was the Eritrean, whichever revolution and struggle that has happened. I'm not talking about coup d'etats. Coup d'etats can just happen within a short space of time and they take over. But I'm talking about a grassroots revolution where the people come to their knowing and they say, no, enough of this, and we want our rights. The Civil War in America too took its, not the Civil War, the American War of Independence took time. Of course, the Civil War too did take some time. So, what barometer or thermometer of wartime are you using to gauge this problem and say that it's too long?
Yeah.
Maybe
Good
you
question.
should give us that so we can say, hey, those of us who are out here and speaking for our people, maybe we are, the bell curve. We are way out. We are in the extreme edges of the bell. Yes, of the bell curve. So please, can you define that? Be honest with our people when you write and tell them how long it took Somaliland before they were recognized. Tell them how long it took before slavery was abolished in America. Tell them how long it took before apartheid was also destroyed or broken down and the blacks in South Africa were able to come. Please tell them. Tell them how long it took for the Korean War, the Vietnam War. Tell them that.
So, Winnie, this paragraph that I read, that you've already read a part of it. It said the same people that you set out to fight for are today refugees, internally displaced persons, IDPs, many whom can barely survive. But he forgets that the refugees and the IDPs are a product of what the Biya regime did to our people. It was not
Thank
because
you.
of Amba boys or Amba fighters. It was because of Biya. And I am waiting for a letter that he will write to President Biya too, because I think that will go a long way. I'm waiting for that letter because Biya is the one who waged the war and burned down villages so that people were forced to run away from their homes and flee to Nigeria. All these people that are in Nigeria as refugees or IDPs in different parts of La Republic of Cameroon are a result of what Biya did. It's not a result of what separatist leaders did. It's not a result of what Amba fighters did. It was a result of what Biya did.
My patience, let's talk about, like I would say, the internally displaced refugees, the other groups that you may call them however, it's as a result of a declared war. Your Amber boys using the lose nation also have some bearing, but the majority, because remember, part of the war tactic is to intimidate and use fear. And another tactic of war is to maim and to also traumatize the people, the civilian population, so they, especially in revolution, so that they now begin to decry what you're doing is you are playing in the politics and in the narrative of La République du Cameroon. They have you in their pants. Pap, pap, pap. You are singing their song for them now. That is what they have been waiting for all these years, that the population of southern Cameroon and Ambazonia will come decrying and say, oh, it's too hard. Yes, I agree with you. There have been some atrocity caused on the civilian population. But not everybody is internally displaced. We still have people on the ground. And I can tell you, there's been some extortion of money by fake Amber Boys or La République du Cameroon, their collaborators who are doing their dirty job for them so that they can label us terrorists and label and in so doing they have people planted in there who are literally, they are Southern Cameroonians, indigenous people that they have recruited. They pay them to do these jobs of kidnapping for ransom, doing a lot of. How come they do have, most of those people have big, nice pickup trucks and they have money and they are communicating with deals left and right on their phones, and weapons are being given to them.
That's a good
So
question.
you are just basically helping do what La République has been hoping, that for all this year the civilian population will start declining. Oh, the Amber fighters are doing this, they are kidnapping for ransom, they are terrorists. We want our peace back. Yes, we want peace with justice, and that justice is, let's go back to who we are. Let our identity and our statehood be
Yeah,
restored.
my Winnie will come to that peace issue towards the end when he talks a little bit more. So let
Okay.
me
All
let
right.
me read on. Okay, he says, um, is this how they lived before the crisis erupted in 2016 and morphed into an armed conflict in 2017? Certainly not. So we agree that's not how they lived, and of course we didn't enjoy that at all. Moving on, murking the people, maiming and killing them in the name of fighting for freedom has only taken us into the abyss. We seem to be committing more errors than the ones we set out to correct. I'll read on. You want to talk now?
I want to talk.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
really want to talk.
Yes.
Miss Ngah, who sprayed bullets in 2016 in the civilian population? Who killed Mami Abiedu? Who shot baby Martha, baby Carolus? Who stood at the tarmac in Simaleng Airport and declared war on a peaceful people that were carrying guns and
Yes.
fighting for their freedom?
Yes.
We had no arms. Remember, the boys only had rubber guns.
Yeah.
We call them rubber guns. They were just, you saw them hold, which has become the symbol of our resistance. Why do we have ghost towns on Monday? Was that not our civil disobedience to show that we were a peaceful people and we wanted to crumble the economy so that the La République government will come to its senses? Did we go and gather weapons and come and start killing? Who invited, whether they were the Chadians, to come and fight against us? Who tried and got arms somewhere in the one of the African nations that got burned, and that was earmarked for us, the Anglophones, as they
Yes.
call us? Please, If you can answer these questions honestly, then you will know that the crisis, as you may call them crisis, was not just a crisis that we called upon ourselves. If this La République du Cameroon was a nation where you truly have democracy and freedom of speech, Nif Jofrundi would have been president in Cameroon in 1992.
Right.
Mr. Kanto would have been president in 20, was it 2018 or 2020 or something? Mr. Issa Choroma would have been president of Cameroon last year. So, because you have dictators that are sitting in a seat and being supported by people whose interests they are defending and not the indigenous people of the land. So we have all these crises, the maiming, the killing, the fighting. We were resisting for freedom. I'm glad because you're going to quote Gandhi at the end because he called for peaceful protest. We
Yes.
have used that tactic and we are using it until our people were being killed. Then we moved into the zone of self-defense, which is a human right and granted even by God and the international community.
Okay, my dear, let's move on. Okay, reading on, he said, murking the people, maiming and killing them in the name of fighting for freedom has only, oh, I read this already. Okay, the balance sheet of the struggle shows we are on the losing end educationally, economically, and socially. Among other indices, we are by far worse off than we were before 2016. It is unimaginable that we, the once proud, respected, and civilized Anglophones, are the ones destroying ourselves in the name of struggle for independence. Make no mistake, Anglophones are paying a huge price for a cause they were made to believe would better their situation. It is a time to stop the bloodbath and indiscriminate destruction. Consider the past, present, and reimagine the future. It is not too late to stop the violence. What do you want to say about this portion of his letter?
We were the civilized people. That's why we could vote. Our parents and grandparents could vote in 1954 and 19 what and transition and were able to transition government from one party to another and they had a new prime minister. That's why Endelu could hand power to Foncha and then eventually Augustine Gomjwa. Yes, we were that civilized people. Mr. Ngah, let me ask you this question. You sit in your house, I'm presuming that you have a family, children, even if you don't, I presume that maybe you have parents, other siblings, knowing the way our families are, and you sit in your house, and a neighbor comes in with a big um, pestle. I'm not talking gun,
Mm-hmm.
mortar and pestle, and starts
Mm-hmm.
hitting and beating your child. Are you going to be that civilized, nice? Oh yeah, I'm civilized, I'm nice. He can beat my child and kill the child. I will say nothing. That's not how you're going to act. I'm asking you that question. Or are you going to step in and tell that neighbor, I am the parent of this child? And would you not question that child? All the civil disobedience and demonstration was the way Anglophones were I used the word Anglophone according to you, we're telling them that no, we are not Anglophones. We've learned and known our history. We are Southern Cameroonians. And we now know our identity. We know how we came into this union, so-called union with you. And we know it was a farce. It was fake. What you and we know you cheated. The fact that the international community winked or ignored it is because we did not know who we were, our identity. So I bring you back, man. Oh, please, Mr. Editor in Chief, be honest to yourself and how you write this. The struggle, we are worse us. We are losing education. Yes, I agree with you. Whenever there is war, some things will be disrupted. Your normal life will no longer be the same. And no freedom has ever been given to anybody on a platter of on a golden platter or a silver setting. None has ever happened that it just happened like that. Oh, appetite just crumbled. Did you see how many South Africans were shot by the apartheid regime before they finally surrender? Do you know the bloodbath? I tell you, even as war is going on in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine, those are established nations that actually even do understand the rules of engagement in warfare. But I guarantee you, there's a lot of mess going on that after the war and after everything is said and done, there will be investigations and things will be
Right.
sorted out. So, balance sheet for you today. How did you come with your own balance sheet?
Shit, exactly.
Is the war over? Yes, education has been disrupted. Because of that disruption, you're saying that there's been a brain drain, literally. Agree with you on that. We've had some difficulties because schools, they have to decide, do we want to open the schools? And also, let me tell you, there's also been a lot of gain, even in La Republique, because do you know what they did? Most of them now went and opened bilingual schools, like in Bafoussam, in Yaoundé, I mean, private ones, to absorb the internally displaced um, Southern Cameroonians who are fleeing there so that they can go to school. But let me tell you something again, Mr. Ngah. I beg to differ that there is no school going on in Ambazonia. If school was not going on, there would not have been a Kumba massacre. Remember how the military went to that school? Who created that fear? So that a school that was functional, with even guards there, how did people go in there and massacre them? We all know who did it. The BIRs strip off their uniform, wear anything, it's civilian attire, and they went there and did that. How do you think the people of Ngabu felt when their village, when they, one morning they were massacred in their own village? Do you think everybody there is quiet, happy, and they feel secure? How do you feel? And what do you think the people in 2018 when the Fulani people were given AK-47 and they went into Ndu and other places and slaughtered many people? Was that Amba fighters doing that? I'm throwing questions back at you so you can answer the question as an editor in chief honestly for our people. Remember our mother? Do you remember our mother who objected Mr. Ponji Atanga for some of the things that he was saying? Do you remember in Parliament when Honorable Joe Weber said, when they start, when what did he, how did he put it? Something becomes and then resistance become a duty.
So when injustice becomes a law,
A
resistance
law, then
becomes the duty.
resistance become a duty. Have
Yes.
you thrown that out?
Yeah.
Are you so superficial now that you have your own balance sheet? Or do you not have the stamina? Is it a stamina issue for you? Is it because what is it in here for you that you don't want the people free? And you look, it took the children of Israel, they left Egypt out of slavery. That was like a 2-3 week trip, but it took them 40 years before they entered the promised land. Majority of it was their own making. You are creating for us a 40-year circling around. I beg you, leave our people to know their truth and stand for it. Don't inject ideas and begin to call balance sheet. Yes, there is suffering. Yes, people are internally displaced. Yes, we have refugees. Their villages were burned, their homes razed them, and they fled.
And then Winnie, what about those who have died? I know you've already mentioned some of them. The Menka Pinyin massacre, the Batibo Guzang massacre,
Guzang
or
massacres.
all on the hands of La Republic. Yeah, people are suffering and they can rebound when we get our independence. But what about those who have been killed by La Republic? Will they be brought back to life? Because that's the most extreme, detriment of this war. We've lost more than 60,000. I hear it's approaching 70,000 people. How do you account for them? How do you, justify these lives that have left this earth because of La Republique du Cameroon, because of Bia? And mind you, in the beginning of this conflict, we were losing a lot of young men and women. They have cases of mass graves in different parts of
Yes.
the world, in that nation. Some of them
Yeah.
in the southern zone, some of them in Yaoundé, mass graves where they've taken our young boys and girls. They've just disappeared. Some families have just disappeared. I don't see you even mentioning them in your letter. I don't see you mention or acknowledge this part that is the most extreme. And Winnie already said, when the teachers and lawyers went on the strike. I mean, that's where you should have started. When the teachers and lawyers went on the strike in 2016, it was a peaceful venture, and the
And then the
response.
cotton
I've always
revolution
said this.
added.
I've said it on several times on this program that if Bia had just hid it and just say, "Oh, let's take care of their education. Let's remove our hands from the structure of their education. Let's remove our hands from their legal system."
Legal system.
100%, what is going on now would not have happened. I
Amen.
guarantee you that.
Amen.
Because there would have been no reason for Bia to be shooting people from the airspace or airships. There would have been no reason for him to announce in that November that these people will be eliminated in 2 weeks. None of this would have happened. So I'm not sure why you're not blaming those who are responsible for this. And Winnie, I'm glad you mentioned Weber, because I want to read some more about Weber. Honorable Joseph Weber, a Cameroonian politician, has spoken out strongly against injustice, particularly in the context of the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon. he famously said, when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. So, Mr. Ngah, resistance is a duty. This is a form of resistance. We are resisting what they are doing to us. Because when you just don't resist, you will get crushed like a cockroach. You know, you will get
Like they said.
crushed like a cockroach, like they said. So you have to resist. You have to resist. And there is a structure in this resistance. That's why we have our government. Because through the government, we're doing things in a legal way where we know that when the time comes, if the ICC were to pick us up, we'll know that we are following, doing things by the books. So that those who are committing those crimes that you are listening, who are mostly La Republic agents, they are the ones that have been arrested. They are the ones that will pay for all the crimes that you are listing. It's not the separatist leaders. It's not the ASA. Because the truth is that any Southern Cameroonian, any Ambazonian who believes in our cause, who's learned the history, will not put a hand on another Southern Cameroonian or Ambazonian. They will not do that. They will not extort. They will not take advantage of other people. Because our cause is based on the truth. And we're generally an honest people, generally law abiding. Ma Winnie, go ahead. You want to say
Mate,
something?
there's something else that I may need to say here. When the war was declared, when the crisis started picking up, when the killings had started, even before the war was declared, many people who had problems took advantage of the warlike environment and started settling scores and paying boys to harass others, or even going to La République police and BIRs to report whoever, maybe it was a land dispute or whatever, and say this person is amber, is keeping amber, and is doing this. And many people were picked innocently because they had. We are not making this picture look like every Ambazonia is an angel of light, and all the people that are La République are all demons
Demons.
of hell. We are not saying that. We are rather saying when a government and a system that is supposed to uphold justice and truth, when they are the perpetrators of injustice and lies telling, then I sorry, because hey, what happens? You've thrown everything to the dogs.
Yeah.
What do I use that word? They use that word and say we were dogs and cockroaches. Then who are the hyenas and who are the I don't know, because hyenas too are also of the dog family.
Oh, the
So what I'm
lions.
trying to say here is that there were also personal scores that have were used, and when war happens, and because the land is really place is really not truly governable. Don't mind when they say they have a governor, they have that. That's why most of them, they either live in Douala or in Bafusa Mombunda, and then once in a while they'll fly into Bamenda or Boya to do something to give the semblance that things are going on and that the government is going on, or that everything is calm and things are going well. There is now peace has returned. Is that not what they are saying? But then in the speech of their president, they said they will even have a stronger hand and they will do worse things on our people. Why didn't you go ask them that? Hey, why don't you go to a negotiating table and let's end this thing? Move on, Matthew.
Yes. Okay, let me read on. So, my dear brothers and sisters, we have lost an entire generation through school boycotts. We have crippled our businesses and other things that made us who we are supposed to be. Anglophones in broad daylight have been robbed of education, which was their mainstay and pride. Renowned schools like Sacred Heart College, Our Lady of Lords, Seka Baptist College, CPC Bali, Sase College, Kumba Bambili, Bishop Rogan College, St. Augustine College, Progressive Nacho and Longla Comprehensive College have been a shadow of themselves. In addition, some of the best teachers these schools boasted of have fled the armed conflict to Cameroon regions where their services are better remunerated. Anglophones were not meant to be living like slaves or fugitives in their land. Let us allow our people to breathe and thrive. In killing ourselves, traumatizing, or turning our people into instruments of cruelty, the ultimate prize for independence, is killing ourselves, traumatizing, or turning our peoples into instruments of cruelty the ultimate price for their independence? Certainly not. Let me not read further. So I need you to talk right now, but I just want to say this. When he mentioned about um, so the part about schools and all that. I don't know if you remember, there was a video of late Ben Muna. Is it Ben Muna or Ben? There's a video of late Ben Muna who was talking. I have that video somewhere, and he was saying that let them miss 1, 2 years or many years of schools. It doesn't matter as long as they get their freedom. I don't know if you remember that video.
Yes, I remember.
Yes,
I remember.
yes. So this is
Yes.
telling Sanga that yes, some of our students or some generations may not be getting the traditional education that some of us benefited from. Some of them are just going through community schools and picking up knowledge here and there. But in the long run, they will have a structure where the education that they will get once we get total control of our land will be one that they can benefit from and be able to make a living. You have graduates there that before the war, they had the best education. What were they doing with that education? Were they not selling puff on the streets or riding Okada?
Riding
Oh, Winnie,
Okadas.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
gonna say, oh yeah, they had the degrees. Our parents sweated, sent them through all these wonderful colleges, and that you're talking about listed here, and the pride of those schools. Many of them, what happened? They either left the country because there were no jobs, there was nothing for them, or they ended up riding Okada. And the generation that is now in Cameroon, except for because at least there was some middle class, in terms if you stratify the whole nation when we were growing up. M- m- um, Many people you could put lump them, even those who did not have education, had some means of being able to send their kids to secondary school somehow. So you could say there was a big push of our kids going to school, our age group.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we've continued because of our love for education to send our kids to school. And what has happened? The current youth who don't know any other president in La République de Cameroon except one. Many of them are younger than when that man was put as president in that country in 1982. Many of them were born after that. Do you realize that many of them, after they came out of the universities, had no jobs? And
Mm-hmm.
even when they tried to start a small business, they were taxed out through bribery and corruption.
Sure.
And
Mm-hmm.
so the their creativity and ingenuity and entrepreneur skill sets and passion was killed. And even when they are struggling, every little bit that they have, the gendarmes, the police stand on the road and they are exacting that money from them in little bribes. So, talking about education that is lost. Yes, some of these schools have literally built their annexes in Yaoundé. You have Lord's Annex, Sacred Heart Annex, and World War Annex. But let me tell you, Mr. Ngah, even before we got to this point, do you remember in 1984 when they were trying to scrape off the Anglophone system of education so they could all become and use the Francophone bac, probatoire and baccalaureate?
Right.
Do you remember that? Maybe you were not yet born. However, what happened? Majority of your wonderful elitists, I'm not just talking about Southern Cameroon elitists that are in Yaoundé or Douala, sending their kids back home to come to all this wonderful school. But I'm talking about the La République citizens who are in elitist positions, and even some of the French-speaking countries or Francophonie countries around there were sending their kids to these our own very schools. And you know the effect of that? It literally pushed up the tuition for most of these schools and priced out most of our parents who were the local indigenous people that they took their land and gave it to the mission to build these schools, and most of them could no longer afford sending their kids to these schools. So yes, they tried. Yes, these schools are there, but mind you, these schools are still ongoing. But people go to the schools and they are still going and afraid because they don't know when the next gunshot they will hear it.
Right.
So schools are still ongoing, but not freely as it was. But you know what they can do? Schools can move their school Tuesday, since Monday is ghost town, Tuesday through Friday, or Tuesday through Saturday, they can have schools. We're not telling people that they couldn't send their kids to school. But when it comes to the, you said there's been that brain drain. The brain drain did not even only start with this. Of course, there was a massive brain drain. And we may look at it as losing teachers. Some of them went to La République, but some of them are scattered and dotted as refugees all over the world. I wish there would even be some of these teachers in the refugee camps to help teach some of our, our refugees. Forgot I should have had my water.
Sure.
Yeah. So we look at this and we said the armed conflict. We never started an armed conflict. We never wanted us an armed conflict. We only demonstrated, our people demonstrated wanting their freedoms, and the bullet came. And because the bullet came, there had to be some self-defense. Let's make it clear. The oppressor and aggressor is La République du Cameroon, supported by France. So please, I think you may want to write an open letter to them as well.
Exactly. That's what we're waiting. Just be balanced. Be balanced. Let me read on. And there's one thing that he said, this idea of slavery, where he says Anglophones were not meant to be living like slaves or fugitives in their own
Thank you.
land.
I agree with you.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. We were not meant to be. And that is why the struggle is ongoing. Because we were not supposed to be slaves and fugitives wherever. So we agree with you that we were not meant to be that. So the struggle moves on to the shackle of slavery is taken off.
Even Honorable Weber did make a speech to that effect. He said the people of West Cameroon cannot be your slaves. If this is what you are saying that we should live in, I say simply no, it will not work. So even Wiba was already prophesizing that we should never be slaves in our own land. And that's exactly why we are resisting. And we are resisting the best way we can to defend ourselves, because if we could not defend
Mhm.
ourselves, we would be crushed again like
That's correct.
mosquitoes, like cockroaches, like dogs. Let's read on the last part of the letter. Um, again, why will it not be so when for more than 9 years we have imposed on our people Monday ghost towns and lockdowns and have no bearing on the struggle for Anglophone independence? Um, this idea of ghost towns, you already talked about it, was a civil way of resisting La République du Cameroon in a peaceful format. And, and the people understand why. The people are willing to sacrifice Monday because it tells La République that we don't like what you've done to us for all this number of years. Until there is a change where we get total control of our land, we'll continue honoring Monday ghost towns. Let me read on the last part of his letter. My dear brothers and sisters, we kidnap and slaughter our own brothers and sisters at the slightest delay of ransom payment. Yet, to bury their remains, the concerned families must pay a funeral tax to fighters. I am afraid, given what Anglophones have lived in the land of Amba fighters, 99.9% of them would vote to stay in a one and indivisible Cameroon if a referendum were to be organized today. Winnie, address that section, please.
Oh Lord. You know, um, let me just first start with the referendum. There was already a survey that was done by late Cardinal Tumi, and it indicated about 70%. It was 69 point something, I think so. So let's
Mm-hmm.
average it and say about 70%. He said they even tricked them and made it so it would lean towards either being a unitary or a federated government. But I think they had an open state, an open place where they probably said, so what other option do they have? And they said absolutely no federation, no centralization, no whatever. They want absolute separation. That was overwhelming. So I don't know that referendum. Let me put it this way. It sounds like the Federalists during the last presidential election in La République du Cameroon had a wing and a voice because they were depending, hoping that Chiruma will win, which
Yes.
didn't happen. Um, Let me not say it didn't happen. It didn't materialize because I believe he won, just like
Mm-hmm.
Frundi and just like um, the others whose victory has been stolen. But
Mm-hmm.
I think what it gave them voice, and they gave people false hope that it was going to be better. And we're talking about this referendum. I can see you now trying to use all this to play a game. Mind you, there's freedom of speech. You have your freedom of speech. But can you be balanced? Can you tell the people, can you say honestly that, oh yeah, Cardinal Tumi carried a survey and it revealed this? At this moment in time, it will even be difficult to carry a referendum for several reasons. Majority of the people are internally displaced Some have
Mhm.
moved into La Republique. So are we going to call for the referendum for people to come back like they did when Jesus was born, when Quirinus was governor and he said
Mhm.
everybody should go to their town to be
The
taxed
town.
and unless we are
Mhm.
doing something like that for us to have a true referendum. Otherwise, if we don't do that, anybody can you can just move a group of people in Ambazonian land, just like they said they gave Mr. Paul Biya 100% in um, in their northwest and southwest region. Gave Mr. Paul
That's
Biya
because
almost
they voted for him.
100%.
Yeah.
Is that how can the people you are killing, the people who are internally displaced in
All of them vote for you.
refugee, they just came and voted and gave you 100%. Okay,
Yeah.
so with that said, I will go back to say that, of course, you mentioned the kidnapping for ransom. We had touched and alluded to that. And that kidnapping for ransom, I stand here and we declare that it is crime against humanity and remains crime against humanity to yesterday, today, and even tomorrow. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what government is in power, whether it's Hitler's government or whose government or Bia's government. Kidnapping for ransom is a war, it's a crime against humanity and a war tactic used to intimidate. Um, Go ahead, keep reading.
Yeah. Okay. So the final part of our of this letter, um, and just in addition to Cardinal Tumi, remember CND. What was it? CND,
Yes. CD, was it CDN?
CDN, something of
Something
the
like that.
yeah. They also did their own survey, and majority of the people preferred uh, independence.
Separate. Total
Yeah,
independence.
total independence. Um, all right, so let's read on. Will history smile at us all for the toll of this conflict? I don't know who us is. Will history smile at us all for the toll of this conflict? Let us opt to right the wrongs now and escape living in regrets by embracing the path of peace. Huh. If you truly loved Anglophones and are fighting to better their situation, prove it by abandoning anti-people strategies. Let us engage peaceful methods to overcome oppression instead of perpetuating
Ah,
harm. Go ahead before I read the last line.
he said, let us engage peaceful methods to overcome oppression. You just condemn goes down. So which one? Other two? Give us another two. Name a two that is a peaceful engagement. I just wanted to say that. Go ahead.
Well, the teachers and lawyers went on a strike. That was a
Mhm.
peaceful approach.
When they
What
march
became
on the
of them?
street demonstrating,
Yes,
that was
yes.
peaceful.
What became of them? Um, Let us engage peaceful methods to overcome oppression instead of perpetuating harm. And you're right. Maybe he can start something that is peaceful. Let's see where it goes. Okay, the final sentence. I rest my appeal with this quote of renowned Indian lawyer and ethicist Mahatma Gandhi. In quote, I object to violence because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent. And that's a true statement. But how does that apply to us Ambazonians? Go ahead,
Um,
Marini.
I think before we even the funeral taxes that he mentioned and all the like, I think if you have to be honest, you mentioned the Amber Boys, which I said is a loose term. Um, Mark you. There are many of the BIR who go out on in the afternoon in their uniform and scout around and know where people live and where the house looks nice, where they can in the night come in and gather the people and either kill or hand them over or show the people that they are working together with to do the bidding for them in the name of kidnap for ransom.
Mhm.
But we say, how will history smile on us if we give up and our people are in a worse state with La Republique? It will be that there will be a conquered people, and the history will frown on us for
Right.
having given up. If we persist like our forefathers, the few that kept the flame, that's why you had organizations and that came up, and we didn't know SCNC, Scapo, some of those that came up, and the people were constantly being picked up and locked up. Because- do you know why they never taught us the real history of Cameroon from prior to the colonization up to colonization and up to the protectorate territory up to independence? Do you know why? Because if they had to do and teach our people that history, then they had to face the reality in the face to say, ah, why did one country get independence in why did part of Cameroon get independence October 1, 1960, and the other October, no, January 1st, 1960,
Everyone.
the other
Mhm.
October 1st, 1961. There will be some deeper questions to answer, but you are asking some questions here, drawing some lines by quoting Mahatma Gandhi. Good, peaceful protest is good, but um, he actually said violence. Why don't you go quote that to Mr. Paul Biya that the
Yeah.
violence would,
Yeah.
yes, the violence that they are meting out on the people of Southern
Nantakaji.
Cameroons
Mhm.
is never gonna bring out any good in the long run
Right.
and bring us better options for peaceful protests where La Republique doesn't inject its own ideas and put people that he can bribe and put them in their backs. I hope this your write up is not one of those that comes as a result of um, s- you having to make sure that your newspaper is surviving
Mhm.
in Cameroon and going on. I just pray that that's not the reason why you are doing this your um, balance sheet. Let me call it balance sheet, that I don't know how balanced it is, because it's not balanced. If you take that scale of justice and injustice, La Republique has been meeting injustice on us and we are being crushed. Don't kill the spirit of the people. Our people are fighters in the core, and once they knew the truth, they could stand. Do you remember the days of Frundi when he won and they put him on a house arrest? Do you remember there was ghost town in the regions that he had a strong following? From Monday through Friday, there was ghost town, my patients,
Yeah.
and they only opened the market on Saturday and Monday, and that's when activities were going on. So have you forgotten that quickly? The
Thank
people
you so
that
much.
complained the
Mhm.
most about those ghost towns, let me put it this way, were the
Mhm.
business people,
Mhm.
especially the Bamileke business people, who said their businesses suffered. There's another reason why you have Lele Afrique as a governor for our region, or as they call it, the northern region, is so that they could come. Is there's another reason? That's another reason why you have a lot of DOs and senior devotional officers in our region who are of that extract, like Lele Afrique, their tribe. I won't call that because it would look like I'm being discriminatory. No. Um, for the fact that they wanted to control and make sure that things are in control, because post Frundi's challenges, it never went well. They were complaining that their businesses did not stand well.
Speaking about Lele Afrique, I remember that episode when they gathered a lot of mothers. They were all wearing black and they sat in front of his office somewhere there, and he was questioning them, you know, very, with all this authority, and asking them, these boys that are committing these crimes, you guys know them. They are your sons. And they said, the women said, we don't know them. So
Yes. So that was in Kumba. Was it not in
it was in
Kumba?
Kumba. It was in Kumba.
Yes.
Yes. So that is telling you that these are women that are standing with their own children that are being brutalized by La République du Cameroon. So today we are saying that, yeah, some of the atrocities, like the kidnap for ransom, which Mawini has said that it's a crime against humanity, and if documented, those who are doing it will pay for that someday. They will not go free. But those who really believe in this quest that Southern Cameroons, Ambazonians deserve to have total control of their territory and for their people to live, pursue happiness, are not going around committing terrible crimes. They are fighting the enemy, they are defending the territory, because I remember in the early days of this conflict where they were butchering our sons, and they will kill them and they will put a gun next to them, or they will cut them and I put a machete next to them. My
Oh
goodness,
yes.
let's not
Mm-hmm.
forget how many of our young men and women
Or
have
they
gone.
she around their waist, and then they will.
Exactly.
Yes, I
I
remember
mean,
those days.
let's not forget that. And you come here and you're writing a letter about peace, and then you're not addressing. I mean, you could have even faked a little bit and put a small paragraph in this letter and say, and then to the government of Cameroon, uh, do XYZ, and you may be taken a little bit seriously. But you still have time to make an address another letter just to the Biya regime and the Atangajis that are committing all these atrocities, to show that you are a fair editor in chief or writer. Um, you know, I just want to reiterate a certain thing, and then Mawini, I'll give you an opportunity to make your closing remarks. I know you wanted to talk about other uh, struggles or other, fights in the past, where people have, fought for justice and for freedom, that have taken decades and decades, and that ours is not new. But I want to remind people that at this point, we've lost more than 60,000 people from this conflict, from this war, because of La République du Cameroon, because of Biya, because of the Bees, because of the Atangajis. Uh, we still remember that more than 400 villages were razed to the ground. And I don't know how those villages will come back, because they're all in ruins right now in our area, all deserted. And that's why people are refugees, because they don't have homes to go back to. So we have more than 1,000 refugees worldwide, majority in Nigeria. We have more than 1,000 internally displaced persons, and we have prisoners of conscience. There are a lot of people in jail that did nothing wrong. They just were probably on the wrong place on the wrong time, or they just supported the belief, and they were arrested. They are there languishing in La République du Cameroon. uh, even our leaders like the Patas and all the like, because they believe in our freedom. They are there in La République du Cameroon jails. We know that several people have been maimed, hands cuts, legs cuts, shot
Mm-hmm.
bullet, and all the like. These are all you know elements of war that they will live with the rest of their lives. And of course, we have instances where even children like baby Martha, baby Caroles, baby Brandy, grandmothers and Mammy Appy, people being burnt in their homes, for Christ's sake. Let's not forget all that. La
Or a
Republique's
baby
youth.
beans roasted or fried in boiling oil.
Oh my gosh, I still always have an image of that
Yes,
in my mind, and it's just mind-boggling. And
I don't
so
want.
and remember, there was this missionary. I don't know how it ended.
The
That
American
the
missionary, a
yes,
Ghanaian
the that's
missionary.
Weko. I don't know whether the
Yeah,
United.
Westcott. Hmm.
Yes, I believe that this will not end well for La Republic Cameroon, because you not lose an Americans like this and you just disappear. No, sooner or later they will account for
Don't
for
deal
for
with
what
them.
is done. Yeah. But Mawin, you mentioned that, yeah, in terms of history, there are things that have happened. And when you made that comment, I went back and looked at a few things about how blacks in America fought for the end of slavery, how long it took. It took centuries, like you mentioned, but there were some milestones, like in 1688, the Germantown protest against slavery, one of the earliest recorded anti-slavery movements in America colonies. And there are quite a few incidents here, but I don't want to take too much time. This will be a story for another day. What is your closing remarks to this editor in chief, and to our fellow listeners and viewers? Because yes, there are some people that are reading this and say, "Yeah, he's telling the truth." This quest, this struggle, is more damaging to the people than what is intended to be. Um, what is your summary? What can you tell the people to take out of this in terms of why we are staying the course?
My patients, if you look that cover letter of that the Guardian, I think just three articles on that cover letter,
Hmm.
cover page. Sorry, let me put
Yes,
it that way.
like
And all
detrimental.
of them are tied to the conflict. Apparently, I begin to understand where this man's position and where he leans. And I begin to realize that he may be paid, and the piper, he may be a paid piper. I begin to worry that maybe we took him too seriously while he is a paid piper, and all we maybe have been giving him a little more. We give him the benefit of doubt and say you will play a balance. So, Mr. Guardian, Ngah, Christian, please go back, reflect, let truth speak into your spirit. How did this start? Who is the perpetrator? Who are the victims? What have the people, let's, I will put it this way, perpetrator, victims. Who were the ignorant and now educated people? Mind you, education is not only formal. The people were ignorant about their identity, they've been educated about their identity and who they are. With all this going on, when you start asking the question, if you had to write the who, the why, the what, the where, and the when as a journalist, you answer those questions, then you will come to realize that these people have a just cause why they should stay in the fight till the ultimate end when their statehood is restored. As a journalist, go back, do your research. Journalists should be very good researchers. Do your
Mhm.
good research. I am not by any means, Mr. Ngah, saying that every Ambazonian is clean, perfect, and there's no evil that they have done. I'm not by that saying. What I'm saying is just go back as the who, the what, the why, the where, the when, and for every one of these things you are asking us and saying that the separatists, the fighter, freedom fighter fight their own people. Anytime a freedom fighter is fighting their own people, yes, there will be it will be chaotic. And it depends on which there are their people that they are fighting. Because you have the mask people that claim and the mask freedom fighters that look like freedom fighters, but they are really the oppressor and the aggressor.
Mhm.
And they have all this mask of how they hide themselves. With one goal, let's make the international community see all this atrocity and be weary of it. And then they've told La Republique, you will never win a guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
America told them because America was in Vietnam for years and they could not. Many were killed, but they did not. So, and many Americans were killed. War is not war is not something that anybody desires, and we did not call this to ourselves. We were actually, if they claimed that we were one nation with them, then why are they fighting us?
Mhm.
Even if we were a federated government, why do you want to chop off and maim one part of your country? This just tells you that they know that we are not part of them. We are not really with them. And any havoc that they want to carry out now, they want to do it before. So, Ms. Ngah, I challenge you with your journalistic ethics. Not for what? And be ready that once you ask those questions, write those things that maybe you will be fleeing unless you be CPDM underground agent writing this paper. But I presume you are not. But I think I know you're leaning. You are towards the federalists and towards dropping everything, dropping even the civil disobedience, and let's return back to peace. I know that's what you're saying. There's really never going to be peace because peace is not just the absence of war, it's the
Yeah.
stability that the people have to thrive without being coerced, without
Mhm.
being harassed. We grew up hearing Kale Kale, Kale Kale. I didn't know that Kale Kale thing was all part of La Republique tactics for intimidation.
Yes, thank you so much, Mawini, for a wonderful presentation on this matter, on this subject. And we just want to remind people that we didn't just get where we are from nowhere. Our forefathers had tried all these peaceful methods. You listed some. I just want to even remind us about the All Anglophone conferences, AAC1 and
Mhm.
AAC2. These were all examples of peaceful methods to get certain things achieved. But the fact is that if beer had never jeopardized our people by throwing, you know, guns, bullets from the air, by having bees go and attack our people, we will not have thought about defending ourselves, you know.
Mhm.
every action, has an equal and opposite reaction. So we just reacted to what they did because of what they did. If they had not done what they did, we would not have reacted as we did. And again, Mawini has already said that yes, it's true that some people may take advantage of what is going on and commit atrocities, commit crimes that uh, those of us in our government do not support, frown against, and pray that those people will one day be brought to book. But that's the case with all revolutions, all conflicts. You always have some bad apples that do not follow the rules, do not abide by the rules that have been given to them. But that doesn't mean that we should just sit back and cry peace, peace, peace without mustering the energy to really defend ourselves and our people. And you're wrong when you think that if today they would ask a question about a referendum for people to choose, that most people may even think you are absolutely wrong, because majority of the people are quiet because they are afraid for their lives. They know that they will be
Correct.
better off. The fact is that in spite of what is going on, Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians will be better off an independent nation where they are free to run their own affairs, because they've experienced this before. Marwin and I, we were children, but we grew in a time when people that were living in Boya, we saw how our forefathers, our parents ruled, how they reigned, how the streets were clean, how the hospitals were clean. I
Yeah.
mean, we've experienced all those great things. And it's unfortunate that those who were born maybe in the 90s and after, or part of the 80s and after, do not know any better. They don't know any better. So that's why you have to keep on reading. So, Mawini, just one last sentence from you, and we'll end the program today. Thank you so much for being on the horizon, the voice of the Amba woman.
I want to thank the listeners, but I plead, don't let this write up of the editor in chief of the Guardian, Mr. Kristian Ngah, sway your determination of your freedom and go and having your statehood. Hold that precious. To be honest, if it's not worth fighting for, then it's really not important. If your sweat and blood is gone into it and you're willing to put it, and your resources and your time, then there's a value that you have for it. So please don't be swayed by this opinion. I will tell you, it sounds like a write up from Federalists. I would just put it that way if I were to give you one caption. The Federalist argument, I can give you that caption.
Mhm.
And the Unionists, will just be, I think it's more a Federalist write up. It may even be a Unionist statement. So please, um, look at all the other captions, cover page articles, and read them. Then you will know what. Yes, when people are in pain because they've been kidnapped, or they are trying to, they say they are settling Amber Boys because they are bringing a corpse is going to be buried. It's not right. We don't say it's right, but we know that something can be done differently. But the person who called the war has the yam and the knife in their hands. They can stop the war, and we meet at a negotiation table and settle this matter, and there will be peace.
Thank you for
Thank you,
ending with
everyone.
that note. Thank you so much for ending with that note, Winnie, because as we spoke, there was an opportunity there in the days of Team Ambazonia or Ambazonia Coalition Team, where BIA had the opportunity to meet with the Southern Cameroonian leaders to find the root cause of the problem and solve it permanently. He dodged from that, and since then we've had all these Canadian one and two fiasco that have led to nothing. So, Mr. Kristian Ngah, the fact is that this, whatever is going on, we have to end on the table for there to be peace in both regions. And we do want peace in both regions. And we want peace in our own region so that we can develop our land. And all those kids have missed education, all those kids that have people that have been maimed, that are suffering because they've been damaged mentally, we'll have to find a way to, uh, support them and to give them a better life than they're living now. So thank you to everyone for watching this program today. Till we see you next time, we hope you have a great weekend. And bye for now.
See you next.